2017, we made it. Unless I happen to have any celebrity subscribers, in which case, sorry, you're dead. But yeah, the rest of us, way 2017. So after New Year, I don't know about you, but I am full of fucking cheese and wine. I'm even more of a fat cunt than when you last saw me. Well, that's going to have to change. But for this video, we're going to be talking more about guitars and shit like that. So one thing I did do over the holidays is I got some nice Christmas presents. I got a pillar drill from my girlfriend's parents. They're really generous. They always get me better presents than everyone else does. But it's also kind of like, stay out of my shed, Josh. Here, take this too. Like, next year it'll be a bandsaw. It'll be anything that keeps me from being annoying. Keep going to her dad and going, oh, I'll just be 5 minutes. Can I just pop in there? You know, but you know, you've got to respect a man's shed. So I'm sort of creating my own, not shed, but workshop. We're going to do some more videos on that later. We're going to do some sort of, I'll show you the constructing it, because I've been putting things together, I've been modifying it a little bit. Might be interesting, you know. I'm going to try and edit down shitloads of footage of me swearing, but that's for later. I'm going to be trying to make a guitar as well. That's going to be upcoming this year. That's going to be my aim, is to build a guitar. And oh my god, the amount of tools I've had to buy. But still, we're going to try. I'm going to build a Telecaster. Original, I know, but it's easy because it's basically flat. We'll start with that. I'll probably buy the neck, but we'll be doing that later. Today, I've got a little treat I got myself over Christmas. I got myself a Bigsby B5. So this is the left-handed version, because, of course, I am left-handed. And it came, this was second-hand off eBay, thankfully, for a reasonable price, because these are fucking expensive for what they are. It came with something even, this is the Vibramate, which, contrary to the name, is not a sex aid. It is, in fact, a very fucking expensive bracket, considering it's just a bit of metal, that you mount the Bigsby to in order to avoid drilling holes in your guitar. So it means you can then take it off, put it back on again, and, you know, so hopefully, I'm looking forward to this for one other reason as well. Because when you've got an SG, as many people have asked me about, you get it on, you're playing a gig there, fully erect, and you let go, neck drop. So yeah, that's embarrassing. So the idea with these is, not only does it give you the vibrato option, it also adds a bit of weight to an SG, and it looks fucking cool. You can't do dive bombs, but you're not going to put Floyd Rose on an SG. Why, are you a fucking animal? God no. Right, so we're going to stick this bad boy on. Also, in addition to that, I bought these, which are a permanently lubricated nut. Charming. But yeah, these are two guitar nuts that I got. These are made out of something called black TUSQ. It's like an ivory substitute, synthetic, but it's also got Teflon in it, which is like really slippy shit. So that is going to hopefully help with some of my tuning issues. And I've got one here for the Epiphone for the SG that we're going to be putting on in a bit. I've also got another one. I'm going to do another video for some repairs I'm going to be doing on my Hellraiser, Schecter Hellraiser C7, which is a beast of a guitar, probably my nicest guitar, but it needs a new nut. So we'll be doing that later. But for now, we're going to move over to the workbench and we're going to pop this shit on. Alright, so I've got these edges. I'm going to do first, I've got this in the little hobby vise here. Sorry about the screen in the background with Infinity, but so I'm using this as a diamond file. I just got this from Boys, which is a little sort of hardware and upholstery and general crap shop in the UK. But a set of these is quite cheap, and this is flat and it's about the same width as the nut itself. So I'm going to use this, try and keep it nice and flat, and I'm also going to try and take it from both sides equally. That's the most important thing. You've got to get these string slots centered. So if I take a bit from this side, I need to take it from the other side too until it fits. So you've got to be careful. I'm going to jump through this until we've got it right, but we're just going to sand away and just hopefully take a bit of material off. Balls. See the material coming off there? Can you see that? Well, that's already black. So we've already took a bit off. I'm going to take a little bit off the other side. Alright, so we've got the width on this pretty much fit there. Don't know how well you can see, but it's pretty flush. But this width here, this is a little bit too thick. This is actually thicker than that one is. Wait there, which is the original? Okay, well anyway, I need to take some off the side. So we're going to go back to the 120 grit, which is here. And very carefully, because I noticed that this is actually quite, takes off quite a lot of material quite quickly. And it's only like, you know, like maybe half a mil or something I need to take off this. So you've got to try and be even, consistent, keep it flat. And just, you know, like try and get it so it fits. Just take a little bit of time and keep testing it. It's going to be the same with sanding the bottom, which I'm probably going to have to do to get the height right. You just got to be very, very patient, which I am not. I am the fucking least patient person on earth. So don't be like me, because I'll probably end up doing too much shit here and I'll be reporting how much I've failed. But let's have a go. The fuck are you doing, Danby? Fucking sanding the wrong side. I'm an idiot. Okay. Non-idiot version, when you sand the correct side. Right, so we get this face down, this bit. We're just gonna take a bit, and that'll do. See if it fits. All we need to do is fit over this little ridge, if you can see there. There's like a tiny ridge where the paint goes higher. So if you get it under that, we've got it fitted. But it's not at the minute, as you can probably see. I don't want to force it in. I want to just get it just so it's under that gap. So you've got to be quite careful. It's nearly there. Just got to keep going until it is. Alright, so we're back. This is day number 2, so because it was getting a bit late before. But where we were at is we've got the nut taken off. We've got the new nut kind of cut, like so it fits in this little slot here. It fits nicely this way, and it fits nicely this way. But what I want to check now is the height. So hopefully if I change camera angles, this will be alright. I'm going to stick these strings back on briefly and just sort of illustrate that. I want to check these nut slots as well. These look really shallow to me, but they seem to sit alright. I'm wondering if this like low E string needs a bit of filing, because the top strings seem fine, you know, they sit in there. I'd rather not mess with them, because that's definitely where you can totally fuck shit up, is by filing the slots, whereas at least filing the bottom is not too bad. So that's what we're going to do. Instead of filing the slots down here, we're going to file the bottom. And the reason for that is, I'll see if I can get an angle right on here. Hello. Can you see that perhaps? Let's try and get it at there. So you can see there, that's how it sits normally. And that is like massively high, you know, I'm going to fit a damn screwdriver under there, you know, so those strings are way too high up. What we're going to do to fix that is, let me just get the camera right, I'm going to just adjust the light a bit. We're going to take these back off again. The slots seem alright, so I think we're going to go with them. It's supposedly pre-slotted. Okay, so what we're going to do is take something off the bottom side here. I'm going to start with some fairly hefty, actually, 120 grit sandpaper, because there is a fair bit of material to take off. And sanding is the most boring fucking thing on earth. But you've kind of got to be careful too, because you take too much of this shit off, it's not going to go well. So we're going to, maybe that's a little better. Sorry about the lighting, just trying to get it right, it's quite hard. So yeah, we're just going to sand this shit and, you know, hopefully get it down a bit. Now, we're relatively okay here, but you want to make sure there's kind of even pressure all the way down on this nut. You want to make sure it's even. It's just why it's probably better doing it on a flat surface than using a block or putting it in a vise or something. So that's taking a fair chunk off. We're going to take that off and we'll probably smooth it up a bit later with some really high grit sandpaper so it looks nice and, you know, almost shiny. Alright, so like, we need to keep kind of checking this periodically to see if it's getting somewhere near. Now, supposedly the way to do that, We'll probably fast forward a bit here, but I'll just explain it. It's to stick strings back on and tighten them up a little bit so at least they're taut. And then, this will probably show, didn't shift over. Oh, yeah, it did. Ha. So, we need to take this, tighten these bad boys up a bit, and we'll do either end. And we're going to kind of just look at the level. The way I got taught to do it by eye, so it doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to be taut over the strings. The way I got taught to do it by eye, after scouring some forums and stuff, was that you just basically clamp down this at the 3rd fret here, sorry, there, and that creates a line from this fret to the nut, and you can kind of see a bit of a gap over top and get an idea of where it is, and that seemed pretty logical to me. Do tell me if you think that approach is full of shit, but I'm going to go with that. And there's some other bit I'm going to go and get, just to show you in a second, another tool you may need. Alright, so now we've got the kind of nut on, we want to kind of check the heights of these strings, and one way of doing that is to use a feeler gauge, which is these things here. Now, you can go to Stu Mac and you get a Luthier's one, and it's like £24, but fuck that! £24? You're having a laugh, right? What I did, I went into the nearest auto shop, there's a little place around the corner, I went, hey mate, you got any feeler gauges? He's like, yeah bro, £2. Absolutely spot on. So, £2. Unless you're doing this shit for a living, you do not want to be spending £24 on these. Anyway, they've got these ones I've got, I don't know if you can see very well there, they've got metric, and they've got imperial fractions of a part of a whatever, an inch. I frankly hate using imperial. I like to use millimeters because they're better for precise jobs in my opinion. So because of that, I've got this kind of chart here. I'll bring this up on screen, and this is the best thing I could find. It's actually quite hard to find this. I've converted it all to metric, bitches, so that I have an easier time doing stuff. So you've got the string height here, and you've kind of got, let's see if I can get my finger in there, hello. String height and nut there. This is Gibson's factory spec in metric. And this was some luthier guide. It's from another video. I'll link to the video where the guy used it. I just kind of copied it out of his book that he had. And whatever this luthier said that they did, you can see it's much lower than the Gibson one. The Gibson one's there. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to see how it plays because I don't need it super low. And as many people know, I'm not a fucking luthier. So we're gonna try and get this down a little bit. So we're just going to sand the shit out of the nut. Come back to that if you need it yourselves. And we're going to use these feeler gauges under the strings. So you kind of drop that under there. At the 1st fret is where those values apply, so it's resting on the 1st fret. So if you can get it under there and not be touching the string, it needs to be lower for whatever setting you do. You can combine the gauges. I'm going to have to approximate a little bit here because they're not all lined up correctly as far as I can see, unless I rearrange them perhaps. I don't know. I'm going to do a few things. We'll do a few little jump cuts, save you a bit of time, and we're going to start by loosening these strings back off. Another thing to remember is make sure that if you're resting this on just as a dry run sort of thing, just to get it right, make sure it doesn't like clatter off a bit, because this kind of went off a little and it wasn't straight. So you have to make sure that's on absolutely straight. The strings aren't pulling it off to some angle or something, which they might do if it's not quite on perfectly. So yeah, we're going to sand this. And I've got this 120 grit I'm going to use the big job for. Then we're going to drop it down to some 240 for smooth it off. And I've got some kind of like 600 grit there, which is quite thin. So I'm going to probably use that for finishing it, so it's a little less rough afterwards. Just a few scratches on that one basically. But yeah, okay, let's get on with that. Alright, so after losing the will to live, after standing for what feels like forever, sanding is such a thankless task. We're going to check this gauge here. So what the kind of like the spec says on the paper here is like, if I bring that up again just quickly, you can see that, you know, the factory is kind of like 7.6mm. The luthier that wanted to get it all the way down to 0.38. So I think somewhere between those two is kind of hopefully acceptable. Watch all the people who actually know what they're doing in the comments go, what the fuck, man? No, it needs to be exactly this. But no. So, you know, with these gauges, I'm not sure without rearranging them all. There's one that's 6.3mm there, so that's like kind of in between a little bit. And if you get that under the low E string, you can see it's poking it up, so it's less than 0.63. So it's lower than the factory spec. I'm not sure quite how high it is. What have we got here? We've got a 2.0 and a 1.5, so that makes 3.5. You stick them two together, that's still just about slipping under there. I don't know how well you can see on camera. You kind of got to get it under. There's still a tiny bit of wiggle room. You stick maybe the next one up, which is a 10, so that gives you 20, 30, 45. 0.45mm, which is a little bit higher than what the luthier wanted to get it at, but then again, I'm no expert, and that's touching it. So we're probably about right at that side, I would say. I don't want to take it any lower than that. The other side seems a bit high when I tested it before. So, I mean, that wants to be, according to this, it wants to be 0.23mm, so we got a 20 there, 0.20. Let's take that up a little higher. Let's find the right one. Alright, that's 0.25 between these two, so if we slide this along, you see you got a little bit of give under there. Not a shitload, mind. Just a touch, yeah, but you can still get them under there without touching it. So I'm going to try and take this end down a little bit. Just a touch, and that means kind of putting slightly more pressure on this side. Just a touch. You don't want to get this bottom bit lopsided as far as I'm aware. So I'm just going to try and get it just so it's low, because I'd rather not cut the nut slots. Things seem to be sitting nicely in there. Right, so we'll be back in a minute when I've fucking been bored shitless by this thankless task. Right, so I'm pretty happy with the height of this nut. I've smoothed it off a little bit with a much higher grit. I think it's 600 grit sandpaper. It's actually, you can't really see it on camera there, but it actually sparkles in the light a little bit, so that must be the stuff they've got, Teflon or whatever thing they've got embedded in there to keep it slippy. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this in. You don't need a lot of glue. You've got to be very, very careful and very sparing with it. Which, watch me fuck this right up. It's just a couple of little drops. Okay, that'll do. One there, one there, one there. I'll put a little bit along this back edge too. Hopefully help it adhere to. Shit, this is upside down now. Should be fun. Oh, don't get glue everywhere, Josh. Right. So we're going to push this in like that. And slide it down. Very fucking carefully. Just going to get these edges hopefully where we want them. That's looking quite nice. Okay, so that is pretty smooth, both edges there. We're going to stick the strings back on. I'll spare you the boredom of that, and we're going to see how it plays. After that, we're going to try putting on the Bigsby, but that might be for another video, I think, because this one's going to be pretty long after all this shit. So let's check it out.